Hello everyone. So in this video we will talk about the formation of heart tube. So the heart tube is also known as cardiogenic tube. It is formed from mesenchymal cells. Let's have a look. So the mesenchymal cells, they arrange themselves in the form of cords, longitudinal cords, known as the mesenchymal cords or the cardiogenic cords. Then these cells, they unite and form two tubes. Then canalization of these tubes take place, and that leads to the formation of two heart tubes. Now these two tubes, they fuse together to form a single heart tube. Now let us have a look at the various components of this heart tube. So from top to bottom, this is your right and this is your left. The first part is truncus arteriosus, bulbus cortis, primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, sinus venosus. Now sinus venosus has three parts. This is the first part, then this part and this part. This is known as the central part, this is known as the left horn, and this is known as the right horn. So these are the parts of heart tube. Now let's have a look at the various structures that this heart tube gives rise to. So truncus arteriosus, it gives rise to abdominal aorta and pulmonary trunk. Bulbus cordis gives rise to smooth part of right ventricle and left ventricle. Primitive ventricle, rough part of both the ventricles. Primitive atrium, rough part of both the atriums. Now sinus venosus was comprising of three parts. So the central part plus the right horn, it gives rise to smooth part of right atrium. The left horn gives rise to coronary sinus. Now the question arises, from where does smooth part of left atrium forms? Answer is by absorption pulmonary veins. We will understand this in successive videos, but for now just remember this. So that is all about the heart tube and its derivatives. So two thickenings appear in heart tube, one from anterior wall and one from the posterior wall. So they are called as AV cushion or endocardial cushion. Okay, so these thickenings, they approach each other and meet in center, and when they meet, that leads to formation of the AV septum, or which is also known as septum intermedius. Now this divides the heart tube into two, into the left and right halves. This due to formation of the left atrium, left ventricle. This forms the right atrium and right ventricle. Now let's have a look with the help of diagrammatic images. So there were two heart tubes that led to the formation of one heart tube. Now this again has split into two. I'm just drawing a simple diagram. So this again has split into two. So what has happened? Now let's have a look at that. What happened? This is a sagittal section and this is a coronal section. In sagittal section we can see that like this is anterior, this is posterior, two thickenings, they pair and they approach each other. Eventually they meet and it's closed. Now let's have a look at this thing but in a coronal section. So it appears only in the center. So in the center it appears and leads to the formation of AV cushion, and that eventually forms septum, the AV septum, and we should rather draw it like this: the heart tube, so two portals are formed, the right channel and the left channel. So that is all about the formation of the atrioventricular septum or the septum intermedius. Thank you. So we can see over here we have a septum spurium, the sinusoidal orifice, the AV septum over here. So in the so to the left, this is the left and this is the right. To the left of septum spurium, an elongation is formed. This is known as septum primum, and this gap between septum primum and AV septum is known as, sorry, not septum but foramen primum. What happens is, with time the septum primum elongates and foramen primum gets obliterated. Then what happens? An opening appears in the upper part of septum primum, and this opening is known as foramen secundum, because it is formed later on, hence secundum, it is formed first, hence primum. Then what happens? Another elongation appears from the roof to the right of septum primum, but this elongation does not meet the AV cushion, and this is known as septum secundum. Now what we see, just a sec, what we see, a diagonal tract or a zigzag tract is formed between right atrium and left atrium. This zigzag tract is known as foramen ovale. So now let us revise the order of formation of these structures. At first you have an AV septum, then second you have septum primum, third you have foramen primum, fourth you have foramen secundum, fifth you have septum secundum, and sixth you have foramen ovale. So that is the order of formation. The formation of septum primum commences at fourth week intrauterine life, or also you can say the intrauterine septum starts to form at fourth week of intrauterine life. Thank you. As we know that the left atrium comprises of the rough part and smooth part. The rough part is formed from primitive atrium. The smooth part is formed from the pulmonary veins. So smooth part is basically formed by absorption of pulmonary veins into left atrium. Now let's have a look. So there is a primitive atrium and one pulmonary vein opens up in the primitive atrium. This one pulmonary vein divides into two, and each one of them divides into further two. That's how four veins open into the left atrium. So this is the primitive atrium, that is only the rough part. Now then what happens is the absorption of this part takes place. So if I will draw, I can draw it like this. The absorption of this part takes place. So this now comes inside, and this part is now formed by the pulmonary vein, by the absorption of pulmonary veins. Hence this part is the smooth part. Slowly they are further absorbed, and individual pulmonary veins, these two individual ones, are opening into the left atrium. And now with further absorption, all four pulmonary veins open separately into left atrium. Now majority of it is forming this majority of the left atrium is formed by smooth part. So that is all about the formation of left atrium. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Bye bye. It comprises of three parts. The first one is the muscular part. The second is bulbar part. The third is membranous part. So in this order only they are formed. This is order of formation order. But if you want to know from superior to inferior is 1, 2, 3. So I'll write 1, 2, 3 is the order from superior to inferior. So the first part that forms is the muscular part. The second part that is formed is the bulbar part, and membranous part is formed at the end. Let's have a look. So this is a coronal section. Over here you can see that an elevation arises from the floor of primitive ventricle. This elevation is basically the muscular part, and similarly over here the bulbar part is formed. How is bulbar part formed? Bulbar part is formed by the formation of two bulbar ridges in bulbus cordis. So these two ridges are left and right. Now these left and right ridges, they fuse and form the bulbar part. Currently you have an opening over here. So this opening for now is known as interventricular foramen. But very soon it is going to get closed. Over here the membranous part is formed. Membranous part is formed by the extension of the tissues from the right bulbar ridge, the left bulbar ridge, and the AV cushion or the endocardial cushion. And once the membranous part is formed, the interventricular foramen, it gets closed. So superior to inferior, you have the bulbar part, membranous part, and the muscular part. And the most common site for ventricular septal defect is the membranous part, because it is formed at the end. Intraventricular foramen is present at the site where it is supposed to form. If it is incomplete, that will lead to patency of the intraventricular foramen, and that will lead to something known as VSD. Thank you.